Welcome to the Real World Productivity Podcast. I'm Adam Moody, and today I had a chance to have an interview with Kathryn Jones. Now, Kathryn's been a guest, I believe she was on episode 7 or 8, and she came back as we met up in person for an interview about a year after her initial interview to catch up with her, talk about her growing business, CF Design School, Automate Academy, and see how things are going. And this conversation really focused in on team building and how that's gone for her, how she's gone about building her teams, how important it's been to her, and literally how she's done it. So, apologize if there's a bit of background noise. We've tried to even it out a little bit, but caught up with her at a convention with thousands of people. We tried to find a quiet corner and dive into it. So I still think very much worth listening to. Check it out. Some great stuff in here that you can apply, whether you've got, you're starting out, you've got a small business, or you've already got a team of your own. Either way, definitely listen to this. Check out what Kathryn has to say, and we will be talking to her again, that's for sure. So, we're back with Kathryn. It's been about a year since I talked to you, I think. And I'm not going to do a complete rehash of where we've been, but over the last year, I know you've had a lot of growth, and I wanted to talk to you about team building because it's one thing that I think is super important, and I think it's generally the path forward. And everyone I've talked to who's 1, 2, 3, or 10 steps ahead of me, it's like you've got to have a good team, or you're going to hit the cap, or you're going to crash and burn, or there's going to be those days where you're just not able to do it, but if you built the team, it can kind of take care of it for you. So I guess before we even dive into that, can you catch people up on the last year? Because in the podcast description, I'll definitely have notes or a link to the episode I did with you about a year ago.
Totally. Yeah. Well, thanks for talking again. I'm all about it. But yes, the last year, it's been good. A lot has changed. So much has changed. But I think we talked last about my book, Automate Your Routines, Guarantee Your Results. So we kind of focused a lot on productivity stuff. Yeah. But ultimately what's happened in the last year is we took the company, Automate Academy, and we exploded it, is what we did. And so automation in the realm of routines like we talked about before, but also specifically in the realm of marketing, kind of how that fits into funnel structures, and then automation in the realm of systems and processes, which has to do a little bit more with this team building aspect. So in this last year, we've launched 2 specific products in the realm of automating your marketing sequences. One is all about funnel design, and then the second one is a high-end coaching program that teaches you how to build out a 6-figure plus funnel agency.
Gotcha. So what are the names? I mean, I know one of them,
yeah,
but I don't even know the other one.
One of them is called CF Design School, and that's, again, where I teach people how to design funnels. No coding, no Photoshop, no graphic design. And as a quick thing in the realm of, like, why would an automation company sell something on funnel design? Like, people ask me that a lot. The reason being is I started as a funnel agency, and my company is called Automate Academy, and my tagline, right, I help you to automate your sales, and I really do. And so people would come to me all the time and be like, oh my gosh, like, please help me to automate my sales, like, oh, my funnel's not working, or like, my sales process is broken, like, what's wrong? And I was getting results for people, and they were like, can you take a look at it? And I would look at it and be like, oh my God, this is ugly as sin. This website is like so bad. And Stanford came out with a study. Google just came out with one as well that says that the credibility of your website is determined in half of a second, and over 90% of what they're judging is your design. So in the realms of sales automation, even if you have the best offer in the world or the best copy in the world, like, if you can't get people to stay on your page long enough to actually see what you're selling because your design is like so horrific, you've lost the sales game, and infinitely the sales automation game. And so anyway, so we actually teach people how to do that if they don't necessarily want to hire us out as like a huge agency, right? Because we charge a lot of money for that. But we're just like, listen, go teach somebody on your team how to do this. Here's how you do it. So that's number one. And then the high-end coaching program where we teach people not just funnel design, but hey, you want to build a 6-figure funnel agency, we call it Auto Funnel Certified.
Nice.
And so, we teach people how to use funnels that are primed for automation, specifically in the sales realm. And we go way more in depth than design. Strategy, client acquisition, prospecting, how do you scale this? And so it's really fun.
Gotcha. And a shameless tip or insight from me is that we also, as my other business, Semantic Mastery, we
went and put part of our team through the CF Design School. So I can honestly say this has been tried and tested, and I'm a fan of it. So.
Yeah, it's great stuff. So yeah, that's kind of how we've exploded in the last little bit. And so because of that, because the amount of clients and customers that we have is significantly more, and we're kind of building this movement of automators and funnel designers. We've had to really expand our team and being able to cater to them and serve them at the same level as when I was just a lowly little one-woman agency, you know. So it's been a really fun stretching year.
So in terms of actual numbers, roughly, I realize I can't recall exactly when we spoke, but I think it was a little bit over a year.
Yeah.
Including, community managers, all that type of stuff. Anybody who's associated with you or your businesses, what would you say is like a number of people from that you've added in a year?
So a year ago, I was a one-woman show.
Yep.
Truly, it was me running the show. And the reason I was able to do it for so long, though, right, was because I did use systems and softwares to help me to automate a lot of stuff. But eventually, you need humans. So now I have, let me count. So I have two virtual assistants. I have a videographer, somebody that helps me with my social media. I have a business strategist, and I have a personal assistant. So I don't know if that counts,
but
that
definitely counts.
It's awesome. And so what is that, 6 or 7 people?
Yeah, that was bad. I wasn't even keeping track.
Yeah, 6 or 7 people that help, and it's really exciting. I think in the next year we'll double or triple that.
I'm gonna give a shout out to personal assistants. My personal assistant is awesome, and I literally would have a hard time functioning right now.
It's a game changer, isn't it? I think for me, all of a sudden I just thought, well, where's my highest dollar at? And so I literally did I'm a systems lady. So I just did a huge brain jump, 30 minutes, and I just did, what is every single task that I do? I looked at my calendar, wrote down everything, and then just anything. What is any single task that I do, from brushing my teeth to building out a huge $25,000 funnel? What?
Your PA doesn't brush your teeth, though.
Dang it! I know, not yet. I'm not quite sure to get.
Days.
Yes, exactly. So then, basically, what I did is I said, okay, well, where's my highest dollar at? And anything that was $1,000 an hour or less, I said, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
If I'm going to be real about building this movement. So it's been awesome. And so my personal assistant, she's great. She's a college student, and she's amazing. I pay her $13 an hour. Nice. And she does my laundry, cleans my car. She does all my meal prep. I never cook ever, any of my things. She does gift prep. She knows exactly when every important VIP, business-wise, employee-wise, family, friend. She knows when all their birthdays are. So she'll give me gift ideas. She knows exactly the budget. She'll send me links. It's exactly in the spreadsheet way that I want. She'll follow up with me about once a month to say okay, cool, let's check your calendar. What events are coming up? Do you need new clothes? Here's shopping. She knows exactly what my sizes are, what my style is. It's awesome. And so we've been able to systemize it as well, so that she knows exactly on week 1, 2, 3, 4, and occasionally 5 of the month what she needs to do.
Nice.
So
I'm realizing I think I have more of a project manager instead of a personal assistant, and now I'm realizing I think that might be the next step. So
nice.
I guess now I can turn that around. And do you have a project manager? Somebody who heads up, who you're I need this to happen with CF Design School?
Yes. So far right now, it is me.
Yep.
Yeah, because
there's no right or wrong answer.
Yeah, so far it's me, and I think the reason being is this. So we are with CF Design School. We're at about 150-ish members, and we have some pretty huge joint ventures lined up for the next 6-8 weeks. So we're actually expecting to double that, which is really, really exciting. But because of that, and then the goal this year is to have at least 1,000 members in. That's the goal of 2019, is to have 1,000 members go through that course.
That's awesome.
Which I think it's going to happen. It's very doable. And but because of that, there are some nuances that do change, especially not necessarily with the course, but the community, right?
Yeah, I was about to ask. My next question would be have you talked to people that have 1,000 person membership, and what do they say? Or is it just, you grow as needed, or what's the system there?
So I think for me, a lot of that revolves around what's the objective of this community that you want to build? If it's just hey, cool, I want everybody to meet each other, great. But for me, I'm really interested in growing a movement and a following of these people, and so without compromising necessarily like my time and energy. I want them to feel very connected to me and to this automator process and different things like that. And so what does that look like? So even in the last 6 weeks, right, like the structure of our Facebook community has changed, where it's no longer me and moderators, right, because we have 2 moderators in there. But we just started to bring on what are called master trainers, so people that have been through CF Design School and who are killing it, right?
Yep.
And all of a sudden I have a master trainer right now in sales. So he's awesome. And we have another one that will come on in the next about 4 weeks or so. And he really is like a really amazing designer, like kind of a notch above even everybody else who's doing really great at design. And so it's like, cool, he's going to be master trainer there. And so they do group training calls, they go in live, like it's really awesome. And so I think in that particular realm, for project managing, because it's growing, not the content of the course itself, but the community, it's very evolving. And so it's been fun to kind of still lead the charge in that.
So I'm curious then too, with your team, you've got a lot, or it seems to me from just what we talked about, like it's heavier on the community side.
Totally.
But then what are your outsourcers doing? Like what are your VAs doing?
Totally. So they do, again, it's anything $1,000 task or less. So like, and again, these are all systems I can share with you. You know, I'm like a documenting person, but they're as questions come in, they're curating a knowledge base for customer support, which is awesome. So they do all customer support. They handle if there's any refunds or they want to switch their payment plan or whatever it looks like. They do all those kind of things. Any moderation in the group, any group comment, they're posting daily in my groups, responding to those types of things. I have a virtual assistant. I've worked with her for a long time, so I really trust her. So she actually pays herself and everybody else.
Nice.
And so I don't do any of that, which is like really, really phenomenal.
Yeah, pro tip for anyone listening, it took me like 3 years to get to that point.
Yeah.
4.5 actually. Yeah, it was 4.5. I just did that and it's like, oh, you can set limited permissions on accounts.
Yeah.
And I had no idea. We just didn't do it.
It's awesome. And literally she'll pay herself. She marks all my expenses. So anything that comes in, like if I have I just have a forwarding thing, anything comes in from like a receipt from Amazon or anything, I just have like forwarding rules on my Gmail. It will automatically bounce to her. And I have a lot of recurring purchases, right? So she'll just put it in my expenses, and if she ever has a question about like, is this personal or business, then she'll ask me. But more often than not, they're business. she knows because we've been around for a while.
Yeah.
So doing things like that, she helps me with all my joint venture setup. So all I do is actually get on the phone, make sure that's a good fit, and then after that, it's like, okay, cool, Rachel will take care of you from here on out. So I only have to show up, which is great for the actual joint venture. She'll do follow-up stuff. So yeah, and I think what's really cool about the relationship that I've established with them as well, so they actually both of them, I've worked with them for years, but they both live in the Philippines, and so there is this time difference, language difference. But they're brilliant, and but I love them and I genuinely trust them, and so as kind of part of building this community with them, every week I just have a schedule. I have a 10-minute, I call it a scrum, where we just meet together, and I send them a video, they send me one back, and it's been awesome to kind of create this rapport with them. And as part of this agenda that we have, I ask them, I'm like, what holes do you see? What would you want to implement? How would you like to improve in your role here? And it's amazing. And so because I've kind of given them this liberty within this structure, right, of this 10-minute meeting every Wednesday that we have, this role of what do they do has evolved a lot because of them, right? They've gone from doing kind of menial tasks to my virtual assistant being like, I'd really like to help curate your social media content. Or like, hey, I actually would really love to help you in the back end of funnel building. Like, could I go through your course? I'm like, great, love it.
Yes.
Would love that.
Yeah.
Please, 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 please.
That's amazing.
And because of that, she's learned video editing, design. She's a really capable person, but I think a lot of that has come just as a result of an open conversation with her. And so it's like, yeah, are you kidding me? I would love to pay you more and more and more and have you work more and more and more hours because you know my brand and I trust you and different things like that. So
yeah. They're providing a lot of value at that point.
Oh yeah.
I think that's great because a lot of people, I think, get started. I think a lot of it depends, which I'm going to morph this into in a minute, about how you got kind of down that path of communicating and treating people like that, which is good. But some people get started on this like, oh, it's a VA. I just send them an email and they need to do it or I fire them.
Yeah.
Thing. And that's really unfortunate because I've heard so many horror stories of like, my VA left me hanging or it just never works out and I don't know why. And a lot of it is like, well, they're human beings.
Yeah.
And they also have goals and aspirations. And if their goal is to make $100 a week, that's great. That's part of it. But also maybe there's more. They want to do more. They want to help you. They're normal people.
Totally.
And so I think investing, like you said, just 10 minutes a week has like,
it's
the value on that is huge.
And I think twofold as well, right? Like, I think in building this team structure, I think there needs to be two primary components. Number one, what you said, brilliant. Like, they're human beings. Mm-hmm. And as human beings, and you would hope that the only people you're working with have this innate desire to do better and be better. Mm-hmm. And so if you can provide the platform and the environment for them to grow, then this whole personal development, professional development journey that they're going on is only going to exponentially increase your own business and the business of your customers because they're putting their journey into building your product while they're still feeling fulfilled. So I think that's number one. And number two, I think like my VA left me high and dry. I think that's also very real. Like if my virtual assistant came to me, I hope if you're listening to this, please don't leave me, right? But like if she came to me and was just like, listen, Kathryn, like it's time for me to go. Yeah. First of all, I would be thrilled for her. Yeah.
Like obviously there's something better.
There's and like if she's gonna go, that's what I do with all my clients, right? Like start somewhere, go build something amazing, and if she decided that worked for her, great. But I think in having a team, so much of that is building out systems. And so what we have every single time she does any type of task, as menial as it is, she writes what's called a process sheet. And so, and her days are tracked Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then she has daily tasks and monthly tasks, all organized, checklist. And so she knows every single day. On Mondays, I do these 12 tasks, and here's a process sheet of exactly what it looks like to do.
And I got to ask this because I know people will want to know, like, what do you use? Is it like Google Docs? Is it Trello? Like,
Google Docs.
All right, awesome.
Totally. And Google Docs and Google Sheets. It's easy, updatable, and it allows for, I think, a lot of progression and movement in that particular realm. And I think another thing, too, like I love Trello. I've worked with teams on Trello, Slack, and different things, and I think there are a lot more sophisticated methods, which we might grow up into those. But I do think something that is really great is that there's not a learning curve with a simple structure like Google Docs. Yeah. It's just...
People know it.
People know
how to use a word editor
totally.
Type of situation. Yeah.
And so, and I think, again, that's where, a lot of the overwhelm of, and again, anywhere from my videographer to anybody, their systems are deeply documented. Mm-hmm. And it's part of the agreement as well when they come on that deeply documented process is ever growing. So anytime they do that, I'll say process sheet. Or if I do anything, I do it once, I never want to do it again. I'll do Loom videos. If you're to use loom.com, I literally record a video, send the link, and I'll send it to my assistant.
Make a process.
And I literally just in the subject line say process sheet. And she'll organize it, document it, she'll send me back the bit.ly link, good to go. So yeah, I think if she were to leave, it would be sad because I love her as a human. Yeah. But to fit somebody in that role.
But now the role is defined, it's there, the processes are there, someone else could come in.
It'd be very easy to put her, to fit somebody in. And so I do think that is a difference between outsourcing and automation. Yeah. Is when you create deep systems and processes so that regardless of who's filling the role, you're not screwed over. And it's very repeatable and systemizable.
So who do you feel like, or what did you learn from to get you to this point? Because people generally don't come into it. And obviously you're interested in this stuff, so I know you did reading beforehand. If you're at all like me, you were like, there was no chance that you could afford to hire someone, but you're already reading about how to do this type of stuff. What were the influences for you?
That's such a good question. So I was really lucky to grow up in a house of entrepreneurs. My dad is a big-time entrepreneur, and my older brother is an entrepreneur. And so I got to kind of watch them, the good, the bad, the ugly, of watching businesses. My dad took a business from whatever. I think he came in, so it was a family business. He came in, took it over, took it from within a matter of 2 or 3 years, took it from 3 to 30 million. So obviously he knows things, but then at the same time, watched him have 3 or 4 flops, and then come in and kind of have a moderately successful one, and then another flop, and then a huge success again. You know what I mean? So it's been really interesting to kind of watch growing up and having like an increasing awareness of what worked and what didn't work. So I think that was number one. Just like I think I got a softball in being able to watch things like that. And as a product of that, I think my dad, he loves business, and so anything he would learn, he'd be like, come check this out. So I think there have been like two people that were really influential for me, introduced to me by my dad, that are very systems and processes oriented. Number one is a guy named Dave Crenshaw. Have you heard of Dave before?
No, it's not.
So he has a really fascinating book called The Myth of Multitasking.
Okay.
And essentially what he talks about, like his famous exercise, and everybody should do this actually, it's really fun. But he says, set a timer on your phone, and what I want you to do is on a piece of paper, one row, so you have 2 lines, and what I want you to do is write, your objective is you need to write A to Z and 1 to 26. That's what you want to do. So the first way you do it is you go A1, B2, C3, D4, E5. You see how you bounce back and forth between letter and numbers? Whereas the second one is you go A, B, C, D, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, all the way to Z, and then you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 26, or whatever. And the amount of time that it takes to do all alphabet and all numbers is like exponentially shorter than it is to go bounce back and forth. And so it's like this very kind of elementary but very eye-opening example of kind of how this realm of multitasking can just clobber you, like just absolutely take you out. And I remember my dad giving me that book when I was like 18 or 19 years old, and it was just like, and for whatever reason that just resonated with me so deeply. One, this process of multitasking, but primarily kind of seeing the bigger picture in the fact that like I only have a limited amount of energy in my brain to do things.
Yeah. And
so if I can figure out how to make as many processes or things in my life that I don't care to necessarily be present for, right? Like, I mean, there's some things where I want to be like so dialed in. Like, I'm here in this conversation with you. Some things like, I do this every day, I could care less, right?
But you've got a finite capacity.
Totally. And for me to figure out how many of these can I have them be A to Z, 1 to 26 instead of A1, B2, whatever. That was really powerful for me. And so I just started experimenting in the realm of like, how do I clean my room? System, everything has a place, everything happens, it's natural before I go to bed, I clean my room for 3 minutes, done. And I was like the messiest human growing up, so like you need to know I'm not like this like weird clean freak. And same with my email inbox. What does that look like? You know what I mean? Just kind of like more normal things. And this is way before I was even in the world of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
This is just like productivity, things like that. And then it expanded to reading. How do I do this? What does that look like? And how do I make it just a routine to learn and different things like that? Did it with diet, did it with exercise, and just tried to find what is the path of least resistance in getting it done, and in repeating it. And oftentimes it's creating really in-depth routines for me, and a lot of times it's creating a routine and shipping it off so I never have to look at it again to somebody else.
When you onboard somebody, and this may not be something you're consciously doing now, but do you kind of try to indoctrinate, I guess is kind of the right word, whether it's community manager, or if you now bring on a 3rd, 4th, 5th VA or an assistant, is there anything you do to say, hey, you don't need to be me, but you need to know these 3 rules, or like you've got to use this type of a thing? Do you do any of that? So
as part of Automate Academy, we have like how I talked about process sheets, those are for tasks. We also have position sheets. So anything that is involved in that position, from anything from overarching mindset tasks, how I'd like for you to fulfill that role as a human, down to what does that look like on a tactical one-on-one basis. Yeah. We just have a sheet for it. And so everything goes through. And so what we'll do when we bring somebody on is we'll have them go through that, and then I'll just have a quick, I want to meet them. I love them, and I'm still involved in that process as we're growing. And so I'll have them process that, walk through it, and then on a call for about 30 minutes, I'll have them walk me through that sheet. What do they think? What questions do they have about it? What opinions do they have? And I think what I'm learning in this realm of team building is that it's all about agreements, right? Like, I agree to let you be a part of this company, to let you play this role, and you agree to do X, Y, Z. And if there's different places or expectations as we're going through this that differ, let's get them out of the way and let's agree now.
Yeah.
So if that role needs to change, or if I need to change, or if you need to change for that, great. But like, we have an agreement, and we can move forward from there. And I think because of that, so I think that's been really, really helpful. And then again, as they continue to grow, and the company is like growing crazy as well, I think those weekly 10-minute meetings, just like, I hear you, I see you. If you have a great idea, like one of the items on the agenda for our weekly scrum is it's called the Shoot the Moon idea. Have you heard of this? Facebook does this.
No, I like this because I know where this is going.
Okay, it's called the Shoot the Moon idea, and basically Facebook has a division. It's kind of pretty similar to Google X, but Facebook has a division of people where their sole purpose is to come up with ideas, and that would the requirement is that it would have to affect more than 1 billion people.
Okay.
And if it is less than 1 billion, scrap it. It's too small of an idea, right? And Google X does something very similar. The ideas for self-driving cars originated in that group, and right now I actually have a team that's recruiting for the team that's working on flying self-driving cars, because that's the next thing that they're working on. So so Facebook coins it as kind of shoot the moon. It's a term from Hearts, right? Like whatever, shoot the moon, just kind of go big or go home. And so as part of this agenda, one thing that I want them to do as part of this is I want their shoot the moon ideas, and wherever that might fit within Automate Academy and their role. What do you see? Like, what could totally change the game? And I ask everybody that I work with, whether they are full-fledged employee or contractors, anytime I meet with them, like I want to see where they think the holes are and what they think is going on. And I think because of that, I mean, drastic things have changed because they have eyes to see that I can't. And I think just kind of establishing that rapport where it's like, yes, you're my virtual assistant, but like, as part of a member of this company, you have integral intrinsic value that you can provide, and that's the reason I want you here. So, like, really cool ideas have come from that. A lot of them being have come in the personal development realm, right? Where they're like, hey, cool, blah, blah, blah. So that's number one. Now, number two, right? Like, I love to meet everybody that comes in, but my second virtual assistant, we're about to hire a third. I never talk to them. Once I meet them once, they are all trained and hired under my top virtual assistant.
Nice.
And so anything I need goes through, her name's Rachel, so everything goes through Rachel, and so it alleviates a lot of back and forth between me. She's learning amazing team building skills, which is great, and she's a virtual assistant, but she's a queen. Like, that woman does so much because we've been able to develop her and grow her within the role. So a lot of the onboarding from that point out, I really curated and developed this process kind of with her, and now she just repeats it with everybody else.
That's awesome. Great. And I hadn't thought of this before, and I'm not sure if this is insightful or me just thinking, well, we're having a conversation, but it almost comes off as like they can become one of your like super fans.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Like, they're gonna, and which is important, especially in that role for Rachel, where she's definitely a brand ambassador, because like people are interacting with her, so it's super important that she feels invested in that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we started off with a little recap. We talked about what you're doing now. So over the next year, if I see you again next year, where do you want to be in terms of the team?
First of all, let's make it happen. Yes, please come here.
Well, now that I'm on the West Coast too, it's much easier.
Yeah,
so,
way better.
Yeah.
In the realm of team building, this is such a good idea. So I think the thing that's been most helpful for me, because I think you can play the games, right? It's like, okay, I have about 7-8 people. I can't remember what the number was. 7-ish people, 8 people working for me. I think it's really easy to be like, we're going to 3x that number.
Yeah.
But it's like, what's the significance of that? Who cares? Like, if we don't need to, we don't need to.
Yeah.
And so I think what's been most important for me, and I think would be important for a lot of your people who are in the productivity space, entrepreneurial space, is I think ultimately you have to decide what is your superpower. Like, what is it that you are the best at that also simultaneously fills you? Like, what are those two things? And so for me...
So this is important. I'm going to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Because I know that she has an answer to this and she's ready to say it. So what is your superpower?
Okay. Mine is training and coaching. And like that truly, I think I have a very unique ability to do that. And that's where I shine.
Yeah, and I totally agree. I mean, you're clearly passionate about it.
Thank you.
And I bring this up because it's interesting because you're able to say it. And I'm like personally still working on mine, and I know a lot of people you ask and they're either timid or we don't know what it is, and it's like until you focus on that, you're spending your time on a lot of things you probably shouldn't.
Totally, and that's the thing as well. And I think a lot of people in the entrepreneurial space, especially if they're bootstrapping, right? They've had to learn how to do it all, right? So it's like, my superpower is high-end coaching, right, to top performers. But, like, I also am a freaking boss at funnel building, and I'm really good at copywriting, and I'm a really good video editor, and I'm really good at a lot of things, which, again, has come as a byproduct of
doing it all.
Right? Of bootstrapping this kind of entrepreneurial space. But I think in this realm of, like, what does the next year look like? I think something that I've really come to learn, especially in the last few months, is that if I am very serious about what I believe the objective of Automate Academy to be, which is to automate for impact and changing people's lives and changing people's circumstances, then I have to be selfless enough to let go of these things that might stroke my ego.
Yeah.
Like, I am a bad A video editor. I know this about myself. Yeah. I've been really blessed to have that skill. But, like, that is not where my highest dollar is, and that is not my superpower.
Yeah.
So what did I do last?
Change the world.
No. So what did I do last month? I hired a videographer. It's not where I shine. It's not where I want. It's not where my thing is. And so, as I go throughout this process, and like, and I do think it is a process, right? As you're building out a team and growing, I mean, it changes because you have more capital to play with the more that you grow. But I think that those have been the overarching principles in being like, okay, what is my superpower, and what additional role, if brought into the company, would allow me to most utilize that superpower. And so whatever that looks like. And at one point, rather than hiring on a copywriter, it was a personal assistant. I literally need somebody to do my laundry for me. Like, I can't do my laundry anymore. It's too much. It's too much time that I could be.
And there's some hangups there, right? I mean, you could have probably done it a year, maybe not, or maybe a year ago or months ago, but it took you a while to get to that point, and a lot of people do that. Like, well, I should be doing my own. I shouldn't have someone do my own.
And I think there are some weird mental blocks where you're like, oh, like, how uppity am I?
Yeah.
How bougie am I if, like, I'm hiring somebody to come do my laundry? And I'm telling, like, this girl does everything for me. Like, everything for me. And I do think that ultimately you have to get rid of this. I guess you have to stop apologizing for what you want.
Yeah.
Like, if I genuinely want to have significant impact, I just can't have a thing about the fact that I'm not doing my laundry.
Yeah.
I don't need to feel bad about that. I live with two of my best friends, so I have roommates, and they have totally different occupations than me.
Yeah.
And so I need to not care that I have a personal assistant that comes and does all the chores for me. And like, I mean, I live with my two friends, so, which is really fun. I mean, I love them, but like, you know, you take turns cleaning the kitchen, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. I never clean the kitchen. My personal assistant does it. And so I had a conversation with them. Are you chill with that? Cool. Great. Agreement, right? We both have an agreement. It's all fine. But I need to not feel weird about it.
Yeah.
And so whatever that looks like. And so, like, in the next year, what does that team building look like? Like, I hope in a year, and by hope in a year, we're going to make it happen. So in a year, when we see each other again, and you follow up, ultimately, what I will have accomplished is built a team that allows me to most utilize my superpower. And what the number of that looks like and the nuances look like, I think we'll learn as we grow. Yeah, TBD, but that is the overarching objective that we're working toward.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I've been smiling a lot, and this is a podcast, and nobody can see it, but I'm just like, yes, nodding my head. I've been through a lot of the same stuff, and it's so fun to hear people talk about this, and now to be like, I still do my own laundry, but like, we've got a house cleaner.
Yeah.
And that took a while.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those where it's like, oh yeah, of course it's obvious now.
Yeah.
But in retrospect, at the time, it was like, no, this is kind of a difficult decision.
Yes.
So anyways, yeah, just great stuff to talk about. As we wrap this up, I have one question that I want to ask you.
I'd love it.
And we already talked about one of your books that you kind of recommended, but what is your favorite book right now that you find yourself recommending to people?
Oh, this is such a great question. Okay. Well, you're a huge book reader too. My favorite Saturday activity is to sit inside of my room and read and watch webinars. Like, I just love learning. Like, I just love it. So I read a lot. I read every night before I go to bed. But I think I've read a lot of really cool books in the last little bit. But I think probably in the last 6 weeks or so, the one that's had the most impact on me, it's called Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday.
Correct.
And Ryan, he is like kind of a really polarizing marketer. He used to be the marketing director for American Apparel back before it went under, but he was 19 years old when he took over that responsibility. So, I mean, he is just like, he's very extreme in his opinions, but it's also kind of what got him to where he is. So he's really cool. Anyway, so this book, Ego is the Enemy, it talks about basically the downfalls that have come to people because they have seen themselves incorrectly in boasting themselves up too much, right? They're seeing things as they aren't really are. But there's this quote in there that, like, oh my gosh, like, you know, when you just read something and you're like, my soul, like, oh my gosh, it was amazing. So this is essentially the quote. He said this. He said, anybody can win. He's like, you can get lucky and win. You can be a loser and win. You can be amazing and win. You can come from poor circumstances and win. You can come from amazing circumstances and win. You can be an a-hole and you can win. He said, anybody can win. And he said, but there are only a very select few amount of people that are actually working to become the best versions of themselves. And I think about that, and I think especially in this entrepreneurial space, we can get so caught up in like, I'm gonna have a 6-figure month. Yeah. Like, this is it. Like, cool 6-figure months, 7-figure year, multi-million, 10 million business, whatever, $10 million funnel, like whatever you want to have it to be. I think we can get very caught up in the figures, which there is some validity to that, right? Like, business is numbers. Like, that's very true. But I think that the real game is played when you become the best version of yourself. When you have the hard conversations and you look the ugly things in the face, and you choose consciously to be that person, regardless of what that looks like. And I do think, I mean, becoming the best version of yourself is it runs everything in your life and in your business, right? It's whether or not you're going to wake up and go to the gym, or it's whether or not you're going to be integrous about how you're pricing somebody, or it's whether, you know what I mean, whatever it looks like. And all these accolades and speaking gigs and numbers, like, those are simply symptoms of becoming this, I think, truest, best version of yourself. And so when I read that, it just, like, blew my mind. And it's been really helpful for me in, like, whenever I come upon, like, a business conundrum, or I don't know what the right word is.
I like it. Let's
conundrum.
Go conundrum.
Yes.
Yes.
And I'll be like, okay, what am I going to do? And I think because I'm a systems girl, I'll immediately go to, like, what strategy am I going to run? What am I going to do? What tactics? Blah, blah, blah. But I'm training myself to instead, regardless of what the situation is, if it's a funnel issue, if it's a team member issue, if it's a copywriting issue, ad issue, instead of thinking, like, what am I going to do? My first question is instead, who am I? And if I can get very clear on who I am, then the answer for how to proceed forward usually is pretty dang clear.
Definitely.
In any realm, if it's email marketing or Facebook ad targeting or whatever, it really is fascinating. Like, if I can get very clear on who Kathryn Jones is and who it is she's trying to become, everything else falls into place. And so I show up differently, I talk differently, I act differently, and I think that that has just been, I mean, you can see my bank account. It's crazy. Like, me learning to be the best, putting that as a priority has, like, spiked.
Directly impacted.
Yeah, like, sometimes you're like, it's almost annoying, right? You're like, ugh, why am I been focusing on these email marketing strategies or something? Wasn't I just figuring my sheesh out, you know? But yeah, so I think that has been the best, that I think the most permanently transformative nugget that has really shaped me in the last probably 6 weeks, 2 months.
Well, good recommendation, and I can't remember if you told me this or if it was like me creeping out on YouTube videos or something, but I know that you write like one line from each book you read.
Yes.
So do you remember, or have you finished the book to the point where you've written the one line, and if so, do you remember?
The one line from Ryan Holiday book?
From Ego.
Yes. Yeah, so that's what I do. So I always try to, every book I read, I write the date I finish it, and then like one nugget that I got from that book. So I can kind of go back and make it implementable rather than being, oh yeah, like I read this book. I can't remember what it was, but it's really good, you know? Yeah, like whatever. So I think with that, the nugget was the focus should be who you are rather than what you do. And because it's a precursor to shaping everything else. So that was ultimately that message that I gathered from there.
That's a good one. I'm going to try to get out of my own ego way, because I remember hearing you do that.
Yeah.
I think it was a video you talked about.
Yeah.
It. And I was like, I can't do that because that'd just be copying her, and I got to do my own thing. I was like, that's why I bring it up. Because I was like, I need to just do that because I've read books where I'm like, this is amazing. I didn't get a chance to write down the notes or something, and then a month later I'm like, yeah, it was a good book, but I don't remember.
Can I tell you something what a personal assistant does for me? Yeah. Okay, so I love, I love the physical books. I just love to underline, and if I have cool notes or blah, blah, blah. So at the end of the book, right, I'll write the date and my nugget, but then every month I'll have I just tag it. She knows how to look for it. I tag it on the thing with a tiny sticky note, the books that I finished that month. So she'll take it, go through, write out all the quotes that I've underlined and notes, and she'll tag them in a thing. So I have a spreadsheet with hashtags that if I want it for a quote or a post, or I'm speaking somewhere, or Facebook Live, or whatever, I have this huge compilation of things.
That's awesome. Do you have a video or a resource of this? If you don't, I'm going to start doing this.
Do it, yeah. Well, here, you can make a video. I've never made a video of it, but it totally is. But yeah, it's just another thing. How can I utilize people to help me? You know what I mean? Yeah. Use what I'm doing.
Well, it's like you've invested the time too, is how I view it. And it's if you don't take some sort of action, it's probably going to slip out. There's those 3 books that maybe I've read in my life where it's going to be with me forever.
Yes.
But there's 300 other books that are great, but I just don't have the capacity to remember.
And it's awesome, right? I'll be on a coaching call or a strategy call, and I'll be like, I want to read you something from somewhere, and I can go to my list, look it up. I know what book it's from, right? I look it up, find the page number, go there. And,
instead of I am famous for mangling.
Yeah.
The sayings.
It's a really good book. I think you're gonna like it.
And it's by somebody.
Yes. But, so good luck finding it. So yeah, that's been really helpful for me as well. Systems, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
It's a great thing. It's a beautiful thing.
Well, before we go, where can people find out more about Kathryn? Where should they go? Where should they start?
Totally. To start in the world of automation, go to automateacademy.com. I think that's where you can begin. But if you're kind of more on the entrepreneurial path and you're really looking to automate your marketing sequences, go to cfdesignschool.com, and I'll kind of introduce you to the beautiful world of funnels and what that can do for your marketing sequences. So again,
go there, trust me.
Yeah. So yeah, if you're definitely marketing automation, that's where I need next. cfdesignschool, that's where you want to go.com. But if you're more general automation or not quite sure where you want to start in this realm of automation, I can help you out if you go to automateacademy.com.
Awesome. Thanks, Kathryn.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks again for listening today. And if you can think of one person in particular who would find today's episode really helpful, please share it with them by sending a link to the episode in an email or a message. And before we wrap up for today, people ask me about how to improve their time management skills, improve their ability to focus on what's important, and use automation to save time in their business and get started building their own team. And if you're a bit like me, it's nice to have a bit of a guide or outline to help with areas like this, which is why I created The Foundation, to help listeners get a solid framework or foundation to help them be more productive so that they could grow their business, improve their lives, and do it all with less stress and time involved. If that sounds like something you'd like to do, then head to productivity.academy/thefoundation and get started.